I've had sometimes it misses my countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Guys, we are live. And of course, as soon as we go live, my throat starts needing a drink. But welcome to the Jason J. Daniels Show. Election day. Election day. I don't know about you, but I'm excited. It's Judgment Day for California. I've got Mindy Powerhouse Pechenuk. How are you?
Hello. I'm doing good and excited about the potentials of what's in front of us.
Me too. Okay, so I gotta show everybody my Mindy for mayor shirt. Check this out. Look at this. Whoa! This is look at this. We got. I love the blue. So, guys, if you want to get on board, the campaign graciously blessed me with this gorgeous shirt. I'm gonna tell you, I get a lot of t-shirts. I'm a t-shirt guy. You probably haven't noticed that. But this is a high quality shirt. It fits fantastic. When you wear t-shirts, there's a certain way on a guy how they cut. Okay, it cuts right perfectly. Shows off the traps. So life is good. Thank you, Mindy. So Mindy, we haven't talked in a few weeks. I feel like, well, we've talked, but we haven't been on. It's been really busy for you. Every day that goes by, your campaign picks up momentum. I mean, pretty soon we're going to be in the thick of it. You are, you're just always on point. You're always plugged in. You're always researching, and you're always campaigning, and you're always thinking about Oakland. So let's talk about that. I want to jump right in. Intro yourself to the folks who don't know you. They should. Because I was going to say weekends, evenings with Mindy or mornings with Mindy actually are people watch, and so they want to hear what you have to say on more than just Oakland, but you're very focused on what's going on. So talk to the audience and intro yourself.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Mindy Pechenuk. And as Jason has said, I'm a candidate for Oakland mayor in the 2026 election. And this is not my first run. I ran in the special election. And given that the spotlight was on Barbara Lee and Lauren Taylor, I came in, I would say, third out of the 9 active candidates, which wasn't bad given the situation and the circumstances.
Yeah.
And I was known as MAGA Mindy. Yes, I'm a Trump supporter. I support the policies of President Trump, and that's something I want to talk about today. Because if we're going to save Oakland and save the country in California, but I'll focus on Oakland since, I'm running for mayor there. I just want to say a few brief words before we get into the interview. And I was talking to Jason about this right before we got on. Because the crisis in Oakland is, as I have a friend who likes to say, it's not a crisis, it's man-made. It was a problem that was created by decades of consciously bad ideological decisions. And the reason I stress ideological, and that's so important for today, the population of my dear Oakland, is to realize that our city has been taken over by ideology which is opposed to the American system, opposed to the American way. And our country, when it was founded on beautiful principles about what makes us in the image of God. What makes us a creative individual with a beautiful mind, to make discoveries, to think about how future generations are going to have children, how they're going to be able to help build new cities, how they're going to help make new discoveries, how they're going to be teachers and educators or doctors, whatever, plumbers, whatever life fulfillment it is. And that's why part of my campaign for mayor, or I could say a big part of my campaign for mayor, is to bring America back to Oakland, to bring back the American way.
We don't see this flag enough. We
right,
have to,
exactly.
this. Sorry to interrupt. I just get so patriotic.
Go ahead.
You speak my language, and that's why I want you to be on with me, and I want people to hear what you have to say, because what you have to say is extremely critical to the future of Oakland, and I think California. We just don't have enough voices like yours that talk like you do. And it's traditional American values. And yeah, we're America first because we live here and we don't want America to fail. There's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong with putting children first instead of executing them. Okay. Can we be honest? I mean, it's very clear, man. Like,
Yeah.
like we want people to live. We don't celebrate death. We celebrate life, being a conservative. And I just really appreciate the message that you have and the fact that it is unapologetic. And that's why I'm wearing your shirt.
Great. I'm proud
Because
to have you wear
well,
it.
because even thinking about New York City, for example, you've got a Democrat, you have a communist, there's this no a commun. There's he's on the news this morning being more as much of a communist as he can be. So you've got a communist on the ballot, you've got a Democrat who's a mess, and then you've got Siwa. I guess he's the Republican, right? Or Cuomo went independent. My point is, a lot of people are like drop out to Siwa. We need a conservative you need that on the ballot. It doesn't matter if you think if a person thinks, well, you have to strategize and someone has to compromise. You don't compromise with communism. You just don't. So my point is, Mindy, it's not just you, but there are others across the nation that are fighting that good fight of that traditional American, um, those American principles. And yeah, MAGA is mainstream. It is mainstream now. And you were MAGA when MAGA was, I guess, just villainized by Biden and his associates for political gain when it was a fantasy. The people that are MAGA that I know are the most beautiful, kindest, most inclusive people I've ever met. So what Joe Biden and those radicals did was they just pushed that mind virus out to low IQ people who were looking for dog whistles. And now we're dealing with that. We're dealing with people now because when MAGA went mainstream, it's now people are afraid. They're afraid now because it went to, instead of just embarrassing you or deplatforming you, now it's we're going to hurt you. Right. So anyway, my hat's off to you and your campaign because you're like we were talking earlier before you came on, and I just can't stop talking about it. But because you motivate me so much. In order to save Oakland, you have to stop voting in radicals. You have to stop. I'm so passionate about it. There is no compromise. The people of Oakland, I know a lot of you watch this in the Bay Area. You have toyed around with it. You have played with this idea of maybe we can be very left, but also still kind of have some normalcy. It's impossible. And so, Mindy, talk about that. Talk about where Oakland's at. You've been putting a lot of study into it. We're going to get into Prop 50. You guys, I'm going to do 3 shows today. So, and we got a lot of people watching. So thanks everybody for watching. Again, I'm Jason J. Daniels, Mindy Pechenuk, candidate for Oakland Mayor 26. So, Mindy, now that you've got on your soapbox, I jumped on it. We're on the soapbox. I'm going to jump down. Talk about the research, what you've been there's like a couple of issues that are really Oakland is facing. Talk about your research and where you're going with it.
Okay, great. And I just want to say, New York City is dear to my heart. I was born and raised in New York.
Wow.
So I don't
I love Manhattan.
from the next mayor of New York City. So, and if he does, it's going to fail flat on its face.
It's looking. Did you see? But they're saying 95% chance he's winning. Did you see that this morning?
That's the end of the day.
Yeah. Now there's like the Poly Market. There's this internet. Not we'll get back on your subject, but there's an internet website, Poly Market, that tracks, I guess, kind of like wagering trends, and people are really wagering on politics more than ever before. They're saying 95%. And then yesterday it was like a 13-point lead in the polls. So it's not looking good for Cuomo or Siwa. But yeah, so they could be, looks like they may go commie.
Well, this is a good point you're bringing up, which will bring me segue into Oakland, because it's a question of leadership. The problem is, if you have a strong candidate that would have really gone out there against this communist piece of work, it could have been different, you know? And that's the point for Oakland that I want to make, because I want to ask my fellow Californian Oaklanders, what future do you want for your children? Do you want your children to be literate, to be beautiful souls, to love this country, to have a family, to go and have a safe neighborhood where they, whatever profession in life they decide to be, they can fulfill that dream, the American dream? And that's what's at stake in the election for mayor of Oakland. And I don't mean in November 2026. I mean right now, if the city's going to make it to November 2026, which is why I'm going to make a very controversial point and then back it up with some facts.
Okay, I just fastened my seatbelt. Always kind of with you.
Okay,
I gotta a little bit.
go.
I should never take it off.
Right, exactly.
All right, everybody, hold on to your hats. Ready? Controversy, go.
Okay, because I'm going to say the only way we're going to fix Oakland is with my leadership now in the city and with a movement behind me in the city. I'm calling on every part of the population to say, wait a minute, do I really want my kid to be transgender? Do I really want my kid to be illiterate? In Oakland, the public school system, the OUSD, is right now insolvent. Right now, 3 out of every 10 children cannot read it, can only read at grade level. 3 out of 10 can only read at grade level. And only 1 out of 4 is proficient in math. Now, that's menticide. You know, you want to talk about killing people. There's many ways you can kill somebody. One is with drugs, which we've done a very good job of that, you know, in the city and around the country. One is with crime. Oakland soars in homicides and car thefts and everything else. But there's another level that most people forget, which is our children. What's happening to the mind of our children? To me, children are the most important wealth of your nation. And what's important about them is not money, it's their mind. Developing that mind, because that's the American principle. That's the God-given principle. And we get a little deep for a few moments, so bear with me.
Okay, when you start talking about the kids, I get excited because I can't amen you enough. But go for it. Go for it.
You know, because you take what makes this nation great. It was the understanding that God created us in his image to be fruitful and multiply. And God gave to man something he didn't give. I love my dog. You know, he's the greatest dog in the world. But he can't do what a human being can do. And that distinction that we're not animals, that we're human beings whose creative mind, and this is where our creative mind is in tune with the development of the physical principles of the universe. Otherwise, we'd still be living in caves. We'd be rubbing sticks, and maybe we wouldn't have even discovered that. Think about what it took for mankind to discover that you can create fire. You can harness fire for the good, to cook your food, to make your tools. That was a discovery tens of thousands of years ago.
Can you imagine how that went down?
Yeah.
The first person that set something on fire.
Today they would say you're being racist because not everybody has fire yet. You know, give me a break.
The woke cave people, the woke cavemen would come out and say, right. We don't know what that is. So clearly we're being disenfranchised by you being
right. Exactly.
I'm being really quick, not to distract you, but when civilizations die, it's usually when they start killing their children.
Yeah, that's
throughout history. When pagan, I guess, culture started getting involved in human sacrifice, the ultimate human sacrifice is children. Because if you say, again, I know this is I know it's early, but Gavin Newsom's going to win, so let's just get dark. When they would start with the elders, right? They would make them, then the youngers, and then the men, but they needed them, right? then it was the females, then the young females, and then eventually the children. And that
Yep.
kind of uh, animalistic, destructive thinking just ends your society because there's no future if you murder your children, and that's the kind of pagan. It's pagan thinking to think that executing children in the womb or outside of the womb, Jay Jones, Virginia, by thinking children are so inconvenient, by you're just completely you're just eradicating your own family line. The people that refuse to have children just because the world's so bad is a fine choice, and there are people that decide to not have children because of careers or because of that's great. But when you are at a point where they don't matter, the ones that are here, when you don't care if they're educated, you don't care about the future. You're just setting your culture up. You're setting your country up to be completely um, weak. You're creating. So I love what you're saying because the children, and I love how passionate you are because not many people in politics really care about children until it's time to use them as a totem, right? Go ahead. Sorry, I'm preachy
No, no,
today. I
no,
got
it's
to stop.
perfect.
I'm
It's
preachy.
perfect. No, it's perfect what you just said because it's the truth. And this is what to me is so critical, which I want to reach out to my fellow Oaklanders and say, look, it's all reversible, but you've got to grab a hold of working with me and President Trump. Because, those children right now, I want to go through, because I also want to get through the solution, but is that, you know, those children, can you imagine being a child today and you can't read? You go out into the world, you can't even put together an entire sentence. And this is no exaggeration. You can't count even basic change. You know, what future do you have? And that killing of the mind, there's many, and this is what they did with all this sexual orientation stuff. It's killing the mind. It's going against the very principles. Now, there's a way to reverse it, and I'm going to present the way to reverse it. I call it the California Oakland miracle. And it's based on the Mississippi miracle. And I was recently last month in Washington, D.C. for a week, uh, organizing members of the Congress. And I talked to members of the staffers from Mississippi because I knew they had done something really spectacular in Mississippi with their education because they were 49th in the ranking and now they're in the 20s,
Wow.
low 20s. And I said, how did you do it? They said one of the things they did is they started holding children back. You don't get out of third grade unless you can read at the third grade level. If you have to repeat it once, twice, three times, we used to do that until the woke deprogressives and the ideology of Barack Obama, the ideology of the Frankfurt School, because this didn't just come about because a few people decided they wanted to be woke. This is something that has been an attack against the fundamentals of our nation from the very beginning. I don't have time today to go through all the history, but it's true. And this was created, to destroy the minds of our children. So we stopped leaving children back. When I went to school, I'm proud to say I'll be 74 next month. When I
You
went to
look
school,
fantastic.
thanks. And
You
when
have
I
more
went to
energy. Honestly, you have more energy than people. And I know a lot of people in their 20s. They barely answer a text. They're like,
yeah,
what do
well,
you do?" Yeah, they just and they're so exhausted.
yeah, well, I guess it's the
Um,
passion from just of life. I have to
well,
admit, sometimes I get
you're different. You're a different
kidnapped.
person. You're just unique, and
Yeah,
you plus you are youthful in the sense that like you're always on the thing that's happening now, right?
yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, no, because we got to. I've been doing a lot of thinking about this with Oakland because there's so many good people in the city, but they don't know. They're kept in a box. They're kept in an ideological box. And I think they want to break out of that box. I really think most people do. And I'll give you one other example,
Yeah.
but I finished the education. So, what the Mississippi Miracle was, one of the things was they kept kids back at third grade until you could read at a third grade level. And what that did is they began to learn to read, and other younger kids looking at, well, I'm going to get left back if I don't learn to read in first grade or kindergarten, second grade. They started learning to read. So by the time they got to third grade, they weren't going to get left back. And so, and the same thing with math, and the same thing I would love to see. My passion is we need a lot of music education, because I think classical music in the schools is one way to develop children's minds and souls. If you have young children, uh, even kindergarten, singing a canon by Mozart, or singing a part of Bach, you know, not a fugue, but a chorale. You know, they even, first grade, second grade, patriotic songs. We teach, when I was in, first grade, we learned patriotic songs. We had an
Hey, they
assembly.
do it in every other country.
Yeah.
The things that we used to do, other countries started replicating, and now we don't do it because we're so inundated with other we're supposed to just put other cultures ahead of the America in a lot of ways. I know I don't want to sound like an old guy, but it's like, look, I we have America has a culture, right? And it's not about race or creed or color of skin. It's about the heart of a person. And do you believe in liberty or not? Do you believe in freedom and economic prosperity? Do you believe that everyone should have a right to have a voice? Do you believe in these things, right? And look, pledging allegiance to the flag is a little old school, right? It's like, okay, that's very right. Some people get uncomfortable with those kind of things, but we have we did these things for a reason, because back in the day there were very evil forces in the world trying to take over any country that was vulnerable. And
And
patriotism is right, so important. So when you lose the sense of patriotism within your country, then hey, why open borders, or why have closed borders, right? And then you bring in all these influences of failed countries.
mm-hmm,
It's not even
exactly.
about like like the Somalian group, one example in Minnesota. There's just like a million voters and that have been imported and all these things, right? And it's happened in California too. It's not even about the people; it's about the idea that there are ideas that do not work in other countries. They're terrible, failing ideas, and if we implement them through our Congress, if we implement them in our state, if we have Gavin Newsom implementing them, which he wants to do, Scott Wiener, then these failed policies
Right.
that have brought down other countries will start to bring down the United States. That's why it's so important that we stay within the American first, in my opinion, philosophy. Okay, sorry. Again, I'm just
No, no,
preaching.
no, 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 no. It's great. I love it. I love it, because that cued me into something else I want to go to. So, so we can do this in Oakland. Now, the mayor, everybody, people will say, well, as mayor, you don't have control over the schools. That's true right now. But I can have conversations with the school board, with the parents, with the city council, with every Oaklander can stand up with me and make it happen. And we can make it happen. If we have to, we'll change the charter to make it happen.
Yeah, why not?
And
Gavin Newsom does it. I mean, why? That's the truth.
yeah,
Democrats will do it. They'll change everything. They'll take the money and launder it. It doesn't matter to them. They will. I mean, I'm
yeah,
being honest. Like everything Democrats do now is okay. I mean, and again, there are Democrats that we love, but we'll just call them the radicals. They get in, and that's what they did in Oakland. They just dismantled everything, all the funding. Let's defund the police and let's pretend we didn't do it. Let's do all these things. Let's break down education. Let's not care. And now we're in a crisis. Let's get in all these lawsuits. Let's get rid of Let's just do crazy stuff, make sports teams flee, make people flee
Yep.
completely, allow crime to just go wild. And by the way, let's let the cartels start making the fentanyl in Oakland. Let's just help them import it, like, right. And the conservatives, you're the problem, right? The people that really just want to reboot this thing, they're the problem. So I say change the charter. I say get in there, get elected, and declare a citywide education emergency. That's what
Exactly.
I
I
say.
love it.
And then just say we're going to spend every dime we have. That's what I would do, because that's what they do, and no one challenges them. They just, so I say changing the charter. I know people like, oh, change the charter. What do you think Barbara Lee wants to do? She's doing nothing but wanting to work on how to change the structure of Oakland so they can put in another radical after her.
Exactly. And that brings me to another point.
I'll move my mic, so I'll let you talk.
No, it's okay. I love it. Don't stop. But this brings me to the point, because I love what you said. Declare an education emergency.
That too.
Yeah, an economic, which is the other side, which I'll get to in a second. But I want to make a point, because that's what Donald Trump is doing. Now think about, if you hear the name Trump and you get all bottled up and angry, and which is what they're trying to do with Prop 50, make it an anti-Trump campaign. If you're against Trump, vote yes on Prop 50.
That's exactly what it is. That's all they campaign on.
That's and stop and think. What's President Trump doing? He's cleaning up the drugs. He's getting rid of the drug cartels. In fact, he has Kash Patel is in China right now negotiating putting an end to fentanyl. He is bringing in industry and manufacturing back to the country. He's bringing peace to the world. Now, if you don't want that, what do you want? Is the question. And I welcome the dialogue. In other words, I welcome people to challenge me, to write to Jason and say, I disagree with her. Let's have an online discussion. I would love an online back and forth.
Yeah, we go on the internet more than they do. Isn't that crazy? Like, you've got a Barbara, you got all these super villains in the Oakland City Council, let's just be honest, and they are hiding. They hide on social media. They hide from people. It's crazy. And the conservatives and everyone, we're out here, man, saying challenge these ideas. They don't want to do it.
Exactly. Yeah, no, exactly. And this brings me to the next point about Oakland, so we can move on to the next segment. Is I just wanted to stay on there for a minute, because you'll see why I'm saying we have to work with the federal government to get out of this crisis. It doesn't mean the federal government taking over Oakland. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about what we have dug ourselves in Oakland, the problem. Okay, number one, I went through the children. The fact that we're creating a menticide against almost every child in Oakland. Not every child, obviously, but almost every child. And I see so much potential in those children. And number two, look at the economic situation of Oakland. I want to point out two things so that people are clear how deep the problem is, but it's all solvable. I have a great vision of how to solve it, but it's going to require working bigger than Oakland itself. The leadership of Oakland. There's some nice people I like in the leadership of Oakland. Not Barbara Lee, not Carol Fife.
Well, I mean, you have to like them, but they're all failures. Sorry.
Yeah, they are.
That's not Mindy. That's me. Because how does the city get to this point? It's crazy.
Because you had leaders like Jerry Brown, you had leaders like Barbara Lee now, Sheng Tao, Libby Schaff, you had city councilmen like Carol Fife, well, actually, I hold the whole city council accountable. There's maybe,
well, and then Lauren. Well, I mean, look, I know you guys are friends, but I'm just going to be honest. He was part of a lot of that in the beginning too.
Who was that?
Lauren.
Sorry. Lauren, absolutely. Look, the problem is even
He
if they're
gets a
in 90.
pass, but I mean, he's like front and center. I don't know why he gets a pass on some of this stuff. He was part of these
No, he
problems,
shouldn't, because no, he's part of the problem.
you know?
And I'll give you an example of very concretely, which gets me to the next point, because their way even of solving problems is they play in the enemy's terrain. Even if they don't want to, they are. And that's why it requires something completely different. We just got the bankruptcy court in Kentucky just said that Oakland is now liable for up to $600 million in fines because they broke the contract with the bulk terminal that was going to be built in West Oakland. This is going back to 2016.
How's that
The city,
possible?
and I'll give you an example. This is a passion to my heart.
Mm.
Uh, the way they broke the contract, and I hope every Oaklander hearing this stops and thinks, you were fed the biggest, fattest lie in the book. And I was running for city council at large at the time. I remember sitting in this forum with other candidates. There were about 7 of us. And this issue of this coal terminal came up because there was a big campaign brought in to stop that coal terminal from being built. It was called the No Coal Campaign. And there was a no coal campaign pledge as a candidate you were supposed to sign. Now, this was all funded by the CRA.
What's next? The no electricity pledge? I pledge
Yeah,
to have no electricity. How about the no gasoline pledge? How about
right.
let's go no shirts pledge? How about let's just not even wear clothes and let's just build fires, right? It's
Right.
insanity.
Yeah, yeah,
They're
exactly. And
talking
I remember,
insanity.
yeah. And so this was a no coal pledge. And Lauren signed it, Barbara Lee signed it,
Sure they were.
um, Carol Fife signed it. Um, I'm forgetting the others, but a bunch of the other ones
Oh,
all signed it. I
why?
would not. I
I'd be
would
like,
not.
why? What are you saying? Why am I signing this?
Yeah, I did not sign it,
Of
and I
course you
stood up
didn't,
for
because
women.
you're not a psychopath. That's the psycho thing. Like, look, we have to be to the people watching. When are we going to say these people are crazy as fuck? I'm sorry, sorry. That's crazy shit, man. So they sit around and say we don't want coal, we don't want all these things, but then they get in their gas guzzling SUVs. They go down and spend money on all sorts of fast food and all sorts of paper
And their
products, right?
cocaine.
They buy, right. It's the hypocrisy is unbelievable. They all want people to ride bikes. How many of them ride bikes? Well, they're too busy with their luxury cars finding parking. It is it's unreal, the hypocrisy that has seeped into the minds of the leadership of Oakland and other cities in California. And it's really just, they don't even think it's lunacy. They don't understand. I think they're true believers. Like,
I think they're getting they're true believers. That's what I'm getting back to about an ideology. They believe, number one, the green ideology, and two, they like the money from their
sure.
ideology. And this no coal, the way they sold it to the people in West Oakland, and I remember this because I was sitting in the forum, and your child is going to get asthma from the coal dust, or their asthma is going to get worse. No, children have asthma because of the poverty they're living in. And first of all, they don't even know anything about the shipping of the coal and how it's really done. It's not like suddenly coal is just blowing in the air
Yeah,
everywhere,
it's
you
like
know?
it's like
And
70, what do they, 1855, and they're just blowing up mines in downtown.
and this was the
Crazy.
lie. And
It makes me
where
nuts to think like the lies that people are being fed. And the truth is, look, and back to the children, you have obviously parents and the children that maybe have stressed family situations. Everybody's trying to make it. Right. They're waking up, they're doing their thing, they're trying to go to work, they're trying to get, and especially in high crime areas, they're trying to like stay healthy. Not everybody has the time to track the lunacy going on in city government. They just don't. And then when they start to try to figure it out, it gives you a headache, right? And you have to have thick skin. And then you hear Barbara Lee get up and say, well, National Guard safety, well, that's just a dog whistle to be safe. So so it's the mind virus has, you're right, it has affected the adults, their lost cause. But now the children, like, we have to make sure the mind virus stops now, so the children will not be poisoned like they were during the Obama administration. Let's be real. How many kids grew up during the Obama and then during the Trump and Biden? That's all they've known. And they've known three out of the four administrations have been pushing the toxic ideologies that have been completely anti-American. And I'm not even really talking about social issues. We can live with that. What I can't live with is children growing up to be anti-American and then dressing up like terrorists and dancing in the streets when they should be contributing to the United States vision. Right? That's right. So this is what we're seeing. We're seeing young people. I mean, imagine, okay, 20 years ago, 4 presidents ago, that was Barack Obama. Right. And so you've got 22-year-olds or 18-year-olds, and then they have 4 years of Trump and then all the negativity and the nastiness, and they have no clue what's what. They don't understand who Trump was as an American icon before that. They don't understand a lot of the things that they have now in the United States because Donald Trump pioneered stuff in New York. They have no clue that he was a major TV star for 10 years, the biggest star in television. Everybody loved him. They have no clue about that. And all the things they accused him of never exist. They don't understand that. And then now they get into this world, and then boom, you go from being like an innocent child to now being in the streets, being indoctrinated by foreign terrorist ideology. And it has everything to do with the parents being so busy trying to keep up, so busy, or the ones that are caught up in these silly, hypocritical arguments, right? Coal, no coal. So I'm sorry, I've stopped.
No, it's good. No, I love it.
I don't know if I can do this. It's gonna drive me crazy.
Well, I'll add one more thing to make it even crazier.
Oh,
They
no.
say no coal, right?
Okay.
But they allow the drugs on the street.
Yeah.
They allow fentanyl on our street.
Well, can they sign a no fentanyl
markets.
pledge, right?
But and they're destroying the minds of our children. They're uneducating them. They're giving them the drugs. They're turning them into terrorists or gang members, or just killing them on a fentanyl laced pill. But that's not a problem. That we
yeah. Coal is that nasty coal.
We don't need the National Guard here. Yes, we do. We need them to get the drugs and the criminals off the streets, and we need to get the education back in the schools. And then the last thing I'll just say about Oakland before we might want to change tune a little bit is today there's hearings going on in the city council. And by the way, I did testify at the city council hearings they had on the coal issue a couple of weeks ago when they got fined from this bankruptcy court in Kentucky. And I showed up to testify, and they were not happy by the time I got done with my 2 minutes. I can tell you that.
I'm sure it's the longest 2 minutes ever.
Yeah, they were not happy. And so I just want to go to what happened today in the city council, just to pull it together. Because I just think it's so important that people listening and that who will listen get the sense of the depth that this man-made takedown of Oakland has been over decades, and it's man-made. It's not natural. It doesn't, if the American system, and that's why part of my campaign slogan is to put American flag on everything I put out, whether it's a t-shirt, my website, my flyers that I'll be producing, right? Because, what does it really mean to be an American? I'm trying to provoke that discussion. And so today in the city council, they were one of the many things, but the most important to me was that there was a grand jury report put out recently called Bad Roads and No Buildings. Oakland's budget problems mean no bonds for the city's needs. And the grand jury found the Oakland city budgets and council and finances wanting, very much so. And just to give people a little sense of this, you have a city that has a $265 million deficit in the general purpose fund for the fiscal year 2025 to 2027. Okay, 265 million. You have now a situation because of all the wrong, ideological, mismanaged decisions from everyone on the city council, from Sheng Tao, from Barbara Lee, from Libby Schaff, from, you name it. I won't go through all the names.
There's too many.
Yeah, right. They now, the issuance of payments for bonds operate largely independently from Oakland's general purpose fund, which is a different source from income. I'm not going to go through all of that right now. But as a result of the mismanagement of the city, after Oakland's, here's where I want to go. Currently, Oakland has unsold bonds under three different measures. Measure DD, an earlier bond measure which passed in 2002 for a variety of projects, still has 35.8 million unsold, with the city issuing Measure DD bonds in 2017. Oakland has 32.5 million left unsold under Measure KK and has 748 million remaining in Measure U. Now, the point of all this is, and I won't go through all the details right now, and I'm digesting it all myself, but this mismanagement didn't have to happen. There was another way to run the city. And as a result of this, the city's credit rating in all three rating agencies has been downgraded. And and you're now looking at one hell of a mess. And everything I've heard from anybody in public office today, they don't know how to fix this. First of all, what you would do is bring in an outside audit, a company, not internal, outside, to audit everything of this city's finances. And what you're going to find is gross corruption, gross mismanagement. And you're going to find that you also are going to find, and when I ran for mayor in the special election, I made this point, to rely on bond sales. And you can see that some of these bond sales go back 2002. And then they just keep coming up with another bond to rename it, to push it, because they can't fulfill it, because they don't have production industry. Their small businesses in our city are gone. They don't have, my vision is we're going to get a design. We're going to rip up the city. We're going to bring back industry. We're going to bring back manufacturing. We're going to get the streets safe, small business back. If you're not having productive revenue of that nature, your city's going to go bankrupt. And what has happened is that, and when I was running for city council, mayor, the last mayor's race, I made the point. In New York City, let's talk about New York City for a minute. I think it was 1930, they floated a bond. I may have the year wrong. It might have been earlier, but around then. A bond to build the Second Avenue subway. That bond has been floated every year since. And as of last year, they built one station. Okay. So there's something wrong. Now, I'm not saying all bonds are wrong. You have a useful way you can use bond sales, but not the way it's been used in the city of Oakland. Because if you take out the real production, and remember, Oakland used to be an industrial grade city. We had Chevrolet in East Oakland, manufacturing plants. We had Del Monte food processing in East Oakland. This was all gutted out, and the drugs and the guns and the crime was built in. And you have to deal with it that way. And even the better of them who have maybe good intentions. I think there are some people with good intentions, but they're not thinking the way I'm thinking.
Yeah, I mean, every one of my failed relationships, I had good intentions, but it didn't mean I was good at being in a relationship. I mean, I appreciate that, but Barbara Lee's like, hey, you have a good point. How do you raise the revenue? Barbara Lee, because the city does not have many revenue streams except the people that they keep taxing or strangers that come in, right? People think, people don't understand, city government, it's not like the Fed or the state, and they're all getting in your pocket. There's only so much of your dollar that they can take. And then right? And then you depress people through the regressive taxation of always putting micro taxation on them through all these things in the city. But Barbara Lee's answer was, I'm just going to start giving you more tickets. It's
Yeah,
600
and you know
million.
what they've done?
Everyone's going to get free tickets.
And they've ticketed cars that have been stolen.
Yeah. Yeah. There's not enough cars to take it because they keep stealing them. It's wild. You're the point of Oakland's industry, it's essentially crime right now in a lot of ways, and
Yeah,
food.
crime and drugs. Crime
Drugs,
and
yeah.
drugs.
I mean, did you see Elon Musk on the Joe Rogan podcast, or the clip
No,
of
I
him
actually
talking
missed
about?
that. I didn't see that.
It was crazy because he talks about San Francisco. I don't know if they specifically mentioned Oakland, but they talked about the fentanyl. And Elon was saying, because obviously he has experience, obviously with business there and stuff. He says the drug trade is completely financed by kickbacks in the government, and they do
Sure.
not want to arrest any of the drug dealers because every drug, he calls them drug zombies, everyone on the streets of San Francisco, it's worth, I think, $1 million. Like he said, the math is every person on the streets addicted that are homeless or on drugs is worth $1 million for the NGOs that are making the money off this industry.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. Otherwise, you couldn't have the drug problem. And in fact, just one quick point on that before you want to switch gears.
yeah,
Um,
we can go past our hour. I mean, it's up to you, but go
okay,
for it
okay.
because
I'm
people are
good.
watching. People
Okay,
loving
good.
this.
Okay, good. Because the drug question, I was talking to one of the gubernatorial candidates that's running for governor, Chad Bianco, Sheriff Chad Bianco. I've had
We
many
we like
conversations with
Chad.
him.
Chad's a friend of my show, even though he
Yep.
hasn't been on. Chad, you're always welcome.
Yeah, I'm going to encourage him to go on, and because I do support him for governor.
I love his
And
posts on X. They're really great.
yep, and he told me about one time I was talking with him, and it was Kamala Harris. We used to have, and I'm right now blocking on the name of the law. There was a statewide agency that was actually dealing with shutting down and taking on the drug cartels in California. When she came in, I think it was for, don't quote me on this, I think it was when Attorney General, um, that whole thing got squashed. It got taken down.
Oh, I'm sure.
And Kamala Harris was responsible. And I asked Chad the other day, I saw him at an event, and I said, what should I tell people about what you're going to do about drug cartels? And he said, I have no tolerance for drug cartels. And that's what we have to have, no tolerance.
It's
I mean,
so
California,
easy, and they don't do it on purpose.
that's exactly
It's
because
so
how
easy
else
to
can
do
you
what he just said. We're coming after you. We talk about this every time. We're coming after you. We're going to dismantle your network, and we're putting you guys away, and we're going to shoot you in the streets if you make us. Like we're gonna kill like I would say we're gonna kill drug dealers if they make us if they pull a weapon. It's like I would be so no nonsense with it, but they don't do it on purpose, and it boggles my mind.
Yeah, no, there's a whole industry, and you wonder why our children don't have a good education. It goes back to this. And I won't get started on it right now, but I remember when they brought in the drugs back in the 1960s. I mean, we always had drugs. Drugs are not new,
Sure.
but it became a culture in the 1960s. I remember this as a kid in 7th grade in New York City. This is right after Kennedy's assassination. And that was November. I was sitting in a hygiene class in junior high school in Queens, Flushing, Queens. And the teacher came into the room and said to us, what would you do if you found your friend with marijuana? Would you call the police? Would you tell their parents? Would you tell the teacher? Or would you do nothing? And we all looked around the room at each other and we said, what's marijuana? We had no idea what marijuana was. But
Now the
yet, this
kids
is
say,
how,
when is marijuana?
yeah, that was the beginning of the indoctrination
Yeah.
to have a culture where it was. And once you take that step, now look where we are today. This is 1964, and now we're 2025. how you want to see how we got to be as bad as a culture is was each one of those steps along the way, so that with each generation it got more degenerate, more attack. And that's why right now, if Oakland, we become the city on the hill, you join with me. I can't do it without the population. And I'm calling on you to join me now, to work with me on these very fights. We need people to step up and run for school board. We need parents to go to school board meetings and start calling for the Oakland miracle, working with me to get the National Guard. Because if Oakland steps up, I can tell you, because I talk to people all over the country, and they say, if you can do it in Oakland, we could do it everywhere. And wouldn't it be great for Oakland to have an image that we were the people who stood up and changed the fate of future generations, and was not, and it, I'm not saying it's an easy, but it's a question that we can do, and how much that would inspire other people to see that, no, truth can win out. God can win out. Our faith in what it is to be in the beautiful image of the Creator can win out. And so I think this is the greatest time we have to do it. And just that, on one note, I just want to say one more thing, then we can go to Prop 50. But there's been a big change in the world. And I
Are you
want
trying to make me
am
depressed? Are you trying to depress me, Mindy?
I depressing you? Oh, Prop 50.
Prop 50.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, even that we're
I'm
gonna,
just,
do
I'm just
that.
teasing. We're gonna.
I know.
It's there's some positives to it. But go ahead.
Yeah, but I want to say this because I think this is a good way to think about Prop 50. It's an unusual way, but I'm not the usual person, in the sense of just saying what is expected. Is that what Trump did on this Asian tour? Where he just his approach is very much like FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who was a Democrat, Abraham Lincoln, who founded the Republican Party, which is not the Republican Party of Wall Street, of George Bush, or Dick Cheney, or
Who died today? We didn't even talk about that. He passed
yeah,
away. Interesting.
yeah. I have to say, unfortunately, he was not a good man.
He killed a lot of innocent people in the Middle East with bombs. We have
Yes,
to be
he
honest
did.
about.
Yeah.
Not good.
This is
Not
not the
good.
party of John Bolton,
No.
but what Abraham Lincoln was what we're discussing here. The question of being in the image of God, a nation founded on principles of development. And on this tour, what most people don't, it's important to realize, is that Trump didn't just make a bunch of trade deals. He did do that. But his approach is to work with people, to bring people into an alliance for economic development for the good against the free trade system of the globalists. And this is why you have Prop 50. It's not what people think. It's because the globalists are losing the war against the principles of the American system. And what's happening, that what Trump did and the British Empire's role in the free trade system, which is a whole other, we can have that discussion at another time. It's a longer discussion. But it's important to understand what's been governing the economics of whether it's Oakland or the country for a long time has been this free trade system, which is not the American system. It's not the system of Alexander Hamilton. It's not the system of JFK or FDR or Lincoln or President McKinley. And it's the system where the globalists and the central bankers, like the Federal Reserve, control the wealth and destroy the people. Destroy the people. Now, there was just a meeting that happened just a few days ago where, for those who don't know who it is, it's Mark Carney, who is the British Empire's man. He's the globalist man. He's now the Prime Minister of Canada. He was the head of the Bank of England at one point and the Bank of Canada at one point, a leading globalist. And when he spoke at the recent conference, he just admitted the globalist world order is gone because of what Donald Trump did. And I want to read you this quote from Mark Carney. He said, "Today we're facing another hinge moment in history. Our world is undergoing one of the most profound shifts since the fall of the Berlin Wall and the old world. The world in which APEC prospered, but also helped to foster that old world of steady expansion of rules-based liberalized trade and investment. A world in which so much of our nation's prosperity, very much Canada's included, that world is gone." That was a quote from Mark Carney, who's one of the most powerful elite globalists for the British Empire and for the central banking system of free trade. So this is why the enemy is freaking out, because they're losing the control, and Americans are getting smarter because they're beginning to understand who the real enemy is and who created a Barack Obama, who created a Dick Cheney, who created a George Bush, who created Kamala Harris, who created Barbara Lee, who created the whole woke culture. It didn't just prop up as something that people felt and want.
No.
Okay. So it's time that we make this. This is the potential. Is it guaranteed we're going to succeed? No war is ever guaranteed to succeed, but we have a chance to make it succeed. And I call on everybody listening to join Jason and I in this fight to make this happen. And my organization that I was one of the founders of, Promethean Action, has really been on the mark on this. And and we're getting a great response from the population to want to understand these deeper questions and what is the way out. So that's why I'm saying we have an opportunity, not just of our lifetime. I'm not doing this for me. As I said, I'm going to be 74 next month. This is not about me. I just want to make that clear.
Sure.
It's about the next generations. That's
Yeah.
why I got a article over 50 years ago with Lyndon LaRouche, because I saw what happened to my generation, and I got scared. I saw how we were slipping the slope, how we were missing the mark, and how easy it was to fall into the arguments then, which are like the arguments today. And I said, no, we can't let this happen. And I think now with Donald Trump as president, as each one of us realizing the value in ourselves, an individual can change history, and nobody else can. My dog can't, can't change history, but we can. And the enemies try to beat that out of us. They've tried to convince us we can't make the future, that we can't change and defeat this kind of satanic evil that's embodied in the people that we've talked about. And we can. And if we group together, if we come together, and I see my campaign for mayor of Oakland as a spearhead to bring all those who want to see that future. And the younger generation needs it. I have a friend, Mike Stager, who's running for Congress in Michigan. And he's doing a lot of work on the campuses, inspired by, also what Charlie Kirk was doing in challenging the college students to question what was happening to them and to find the right way. And my friend Mike Stager has had a lot of discussions with young people, and a lot of them are questioning, but a lot of them have bought into a lot of the ideology. And, so there's two ways we can save our young people. One, for those who are older, who are in college, and then what I started with in the very beginning, for those who just joined later, we have to create the Oakland miracle The California miracle. We have to start educating our young people. We can't let them out of third grade if they can't read out of third grade level. And in California, it's unfortunate. In Oakland, I'll talk about Oakland. 3 out of every 10 children, only three can read at grade level right now, according to the recent report that I read. And I know teachers in Oakland. And you got high school kids. If you ask them to write a complete sentence, they cannot write a complete sentence.
It's a frightening reality. You've said so many awesome things. Um, when you're talking about the history of the globalists and the whole shaking the world up,
Mhm.
that is so deep. And it is rare to have someone at your level who understands these things and has been, I mean, you have a depth of knowledge that others do not, but you see things so deep and you're running for mayor and most people don't even care about anything outside of, how many votes they have to get. Honestly, they just do the math, right? Oh, I lost by 2,000. I got to go to, right? They're all about the strategy of it, which you know that very well. You could do that. I mean, that's part of winning an election. But having a purpose, like so Barbara Lee gets elected hypothetically, and we'll move on to 50 and then we'll get maybe a few minutes on that.
Sure.
But Barbara Lee
Sure.
gets elected and she does nothing. And then maybe 5 or 6 days she comes out and does like a party or something and does a terrible speech and does nothing and then does nothing and then still doing nothing. She's doing nothing. And that's a strategy, right? You do nothing, you pretend like you're doing it, and you keep everybody status quo, and everyone still makes money on the little operations. There's so many operations, right? It's all about the money. But you're somebody who actually, if elected, has a plan to make people better. And what people need to understand is they need to look past any of what they're visually seeing and they need to hear what you're saying. They need to see your actions. And this isn't a Jason's going to promote Mindy all day for an hour. Well, for all day and two. Well, oh, Jason, yeah, I am wearing the shirt. And it's not really about that, but I'm just so motivated and patriotic in thinking about the future on a day like this. This is a very important day. And
Mhm.
we have to have the ideals that you are talking about brought back in. Those ideals have been completely pushed out. When you talk about the young people not being able to write a sentence, I'm on X a lot. I'm on social media a lot. We all met because of that, right?
Right.
I see, and I have a sports TikTok that has almost 10 it's 9,000 followers and I do sports on it, right? Just sports. And here's my example I'm going to use. And I have a lot of young people that follow me on TikTok for sports. And I have some of my TikToks talking about sports, millions. Like I have one right now, 300,000 just over the weekend. Like I get huge numbers on my sports stuff because I've been involved in sports in 20 years, another part of my world, right? And um, when I see the comments of all these younger people, I can barely, and I get it. By the way, I got 700 comments overnight.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow,
it's
that's
it,
great.
it's crazy, and I don't talk about it much on the podcast because it's a different world, but it's relevant in this sense. And like if a big like the Kansas City Chiefs, for example, everybody loves fight over that team, right? So I have 700 comments. I wake up overnight. I have 100 comments, and some of them are so terrible they get moved to a special filter, and I have to review. But I believe in free speech, so I release almost every comment I can. Anyway, my point is that when I read the comments, it's too many, but whenever I dive in, I know who's a young person versus an older person because they can't write a sentence.
Wow. There you go.
And so what you said was so spot on. Or they use some sort of a code and words that don't exist, and they've been talked into believing through popular culture that's a proper word, and it's absolutely not. And it's not even about the word, it's as much as communicating your idea. They can't
Mhm.
communicate ideas. So what they do is, though, the insults, because I get insulted, for my opinions. The insults, and that's part of sports, are so good. They know how to insult you and to try to hurt your feelings. They'll say the most terrible things, but they can't write a sentence to build people up. And it is staggering to me to see that if you're under 30, I know it just by how you're writing and I'm talking typing. So it is a crisis that clearly we as a society have there's a lot of ways to tackle it. Social media has to improve, educating in the schools has to improve, private schools versus public, all these things that you've studied. But I just wanted to back you up on that. It's like I see it on
Thanks.
a large scale. Like my I did two TikToks over the weekend. They're like it's combined 600,000 views, and it's 1,000 comments in between all that, right? And it's people just fighting. They start to just fight amongst each other, right? They stop insulting me and start insulting each other. But but another part of it is the sports media. All these different the media groups, not even just social media groups, because they're propagating what's being put out by these larger groups that own all these smaller groups, right? The sports media, for example, they will perpetuate things that are not true, like rules that don't, traditional rules they say aren't rules anymore because they want to promote a star, they want to make they want to make money, and all of it's about making money. And I think that that's ultimately what happened with Oakland in a lot of ways, is that the politicians got involved in making themselves lucrative, and you can't do that and actually do the right thing. It's impossible,
Mhm.
right? You have to, in order to make money outside of the boundaries of politics, you have to break rules and you have to give
Yep.
people what
There
they
you go.
want, right? And if you're doing
Right.
that, then you're not helping people, because usually the rule breakers want to go against what helps people. And so if somebody says to me, Jason, how do you know? I say two words: Shang Tao. She's looking at 100 years in federal prison for bribery, potentially. And we don't even talk about it anymore. So when you're talking about these problems and people want to dismiss you, I just say, how does that work when you have how do they dismiss you as a conservative Republican candidate? If they do that, how do they justify that in voting for some radical when there's all this evidence of illegal, destructive financial dealings? And what's even worse is people know it and don't care. So why? So I guess my last question to you is a question I
Mhm.
think people need to know. Now I'll interview for a second. Why do you care so much? After everything I said, right? Like the people do not give you the credit you deserve. They discount you. They shouldn't, but you know how it is. Uh, Oakland is one of the most in the country blue radical. I mean, right? It's even
Right.
worse than right now. It's that the what makes you, who you don't need this headache.
Right.
You're an educated, a genius with music. Like people don't realize you're a fantastic musician. You're an artist. You have a wonderful life and family and all these things, and great friends. Why do you care so much? Because you're sacrificing to do this when people are not, I just, what drives you to do this for the people? Because everything you've said today is about everybody but you, and that's really rare. So why do you care so much?
Well, I can sum it up in a certain way. Um, when I was about 8 years old, my grandmother, who came over what I consider outside of Kiev. I always grew up thinking that was Russia. That's how, I grew up as a child. My grandparents came over in 1913. I'm actually only second generation American. It's funny to think about that. And and my grandmother, she learned to speak English fairly well, but it was not her first language. And she would often say to me, I do live to do everything to give you a better life, but you have to live your life and leave this world a better place than when you came into it. And I don't think as an 8-year-old child I fully understood that, but I understood it. And ever and I think also, and that left something in me that I could never forget to this day. And it drove me to have a belief that we're born. We didn't choose to be born. We had no decision in that. And, we're going to die someday. You never know when. And there's a story of that, which I like from Aeschylus in his Prometheus, where God created it so that you wouldn't know when you're going to die. Because why? Because you're required to live your life every day to do the good. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to be perfect. I'm not perfect, okay? I make I make mistakes, you know, but
You sent me a
you,
perfect T-shirt, though. I gotta say
yeah,
that's not
great.
easy. I order a lot of T-shirts. It's 50-50 if they're gonna
It's good
fit
to
good.
know.
So you're
I'll keep
perfect
you. I'll
there.
keep you that company, okay? And and but you're gonna die someday. And did you really leave this world a better place? And somehow, in my own childish way, when I was young, that stuck with me. And I think also because I had a couple other experiences when I was young. One was music. For some reason, I loved classical music since I could remember being 5 years old. I wanted to be a classical musician. And I didn't even have piano lessons at that time. I didn't get them till much later in life. And then when I went to junior high school, I became a bassoonist. And that's my main instrument is
So how
bassoon.
many instruments do you play?
I play really one, the bassoon, and I
Okay.
tinkle on the piano.
Okay, great, okay. I was gonna say, are you like Prince, like a genius?
No, no, no. I'm a bassoonist by training.
That sounds
And
hard.
it's not easy, but it's a beautiful instrument. And 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 I think the love of music played another part of that, because it touches the soul in a certain way. And so that was, and then I'll tell one other experience that I think would be interesting for the audience. When I grew up in Brooklyn, I went to grammar school in Brooklyn through sixth grade. And it was a mixed area in Brooklyn, partially a very good area, partially a very rough area. And my third grade class, we went on a field trip. And my partner was a young black boy. He was my partner to hold hands with. And believe it or not, the PTA, my mother was a member of the Parent Teachers Association they had then, and they told her that she had to stop me from holding hands with this black young boy. And my mother said, I won't do that. And they threw my mother out of the PTA. And so at a very young age, I think I learned something about just the passion for the good. And I'll tell you one other story that may give an insight to what shaped my character. It's the last one I'll tell. In the same Brooklyn grade school, I was the only Jewish child in the class till sixth grade. Then there were two of us. And that's fine. To me, we're all created in the image of God. You know, as we said before, we all are God's children. It doesn't matter how you worship it. But my first grade teacher had a problem with that. And she pulled me up to the front of the room, and I was wearing my Star of David. I'd just gotten it for going on my 6th birthday.
Wow.
And it was yeah. And she pulled it off my neck in front of the room and told me I couldn't wear it. And the only thing I don't remember much from that incident at all, except thinking to her, I said to her, well, why all the Christian kids are wearing their crosses. Now, however my parents dealt with it, I have no idea. But they didn't take me out of her classroom. They kept me in her class. And I'm very thankful that they did. She was a horrible teacher, by the way, but I'm glad that they did. All the kids were kind of terrified of her because
So, yeah, sounds like,
right.
yeah, she's focused on the wrong stuff.
Yeah. But it taught me a lesson as a child.
Yeah.
And in a childlike way. I can't say I have a memory of it, but the memory from it that it left on me was, yes, some people have a problem. But that doesn't mean all people do.
Yeah.
And you develop a sense of wanting to do the good is not going to be stopped by somebody else who may have had a problem. So I don't know if that actually, is all the way I have thought about it. Obviously, there's a lot of thoughts that go into life. And when you end up, but
It's
that's some of the life experiences that
Yeah,
taught me.
it's enlightening, because because I obviously, like you, I know a lot of folks that are in politics, and I
Yeah.
always ask because I know what motivates me, because when I was an activist and I didn't run for council, I stopped short because I knew the sacrifice was too great. I knew I couldn't keep in my situation, my young family, I couldn't focus on them and really give it
Right.
100%. So I'm always intrigued, like, what is the motivation for people or for candidates like you who are not doing it the easy way? Some people
No,
would yeah, some people would be like, "I'm out of here. I'm gonna go where I'm celebrated, not tolerated. I'm gonna move to some place where, let's be honest, some people will move to where there's voters
no,
that right?
people have told me that. They say, "Why don't you move here? It'd be so easy for you to run." Or people have told me, "Well, why don't you just dump the Trump stuff,
Sure.
and just, be a little bit more,
Yeah, I'm sure people have sat you down and said,
play
"Mindy,
the game
you
more, play
know,
the game,
if you
you
wanna
know?"
win, you should probably not talk about" right?
Right. And that's not me,
That's
you
not you.
know. And
And
this is
that's
go
why I'm
ahead.
wearing your T-shirt.
Great. Yeah.
Because, you are doing there's a story in the Bible, Elijah and Elisha. I'm no expert, but, one of them said to the other, "Hey, I wanna do your job," or Elijah said to Elisha, because the other was an older or younger situation, and the older prophet was, gonna retire or something. I think maybe God took him to heaven in the story, and the younger guy's like, "Hey, I wanna give me your stuff. I wanna be that guy." And he looked at him and he said, "You're asking for a hard thing. You don't know what you're asking for. Are you?" And then the story goes on that I believe the older one was taken to heaven. Again, I could be wrong, guys. I'm just they believe that's the story, but it always sticks. I whenever I look at folks like you and think about people like they're asking for a hard thing, but they can't help it because that's who they are. They don't shy away from the tough thing. And look, look, you've won. You're a winner. You win in life. You don't get to this point without winning and having accomplishments, right? You don't have people support you like they do. You don't, right? Without having a message that resonates. So that's why I want to put you on my podcast, because your message
I
resonates.
appreciate it tremendously.
Well, I appreciate you. Okay, so
Can I
we
say
did an
one
hour and
last
20.
thing?
What's that?
Can I say one last thing before we
Oh, yeah,
go?
no rush. I was just gonna tell you
Okay.
the plan. We're, at an hour and 20 minutes. You and I have
Okay.
spent a lot of time already. Why don't we, let's do one I'll let you close us out. We can do one last thing, and then maybe I'll come back in a few hours with some election stuff, and Mindy might join me again, depending on her schedule. But we will talk 50. So guys that are watching, we'll talk Proposition 50 in the next podcast. I plan on streaming 3 or 4 times today as their election results start to come in. But Mindy, yeah, what's the last
So
word?
this is the segue for your next sections.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Trump issued a statement this morning, President Trump, on Prop 50. And I wanted to share this with everybody listening and that will listen, and you'll bring them up to date throughout the day.
You
He
got
said
it.
the constitutional redistricting vote in California is a giant scam, in that the entire process, in particular, the voting itself, is rigged. All mail-in ballots where the Republicans in that state are shut out is under very serious legal and criminal review. Stay tuned.
Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Yes.
Okay, well, let's just talk about it. Why not? That's an incredible statement. My opinion, I was going to try to, to the audience, we were going to stream yesterday. I wasn't feeling well. And then I was feeling good last night, and I was going to try to go on, right? I was like, okay, let me kind of talk about 50. But I think that I don't think it's going to even be implemented. I think the administration is going to sue. And then Trump posted that this morning. So that's right. Some people don't realize the Supreme Court has a redistricting case based on race that they're talking about. And the issue is can districts be redrawn because of racial, I guess, what's the demographics?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So they're saying it's unconstitutional. The Supreme Court is going to rule on that. They're also saying that 50 is specifically drawn like that. One of the things they did was they put race and culture as one of the primary, and then Democrat. So, and also with the error that they made on the ballot, which we knew about, which I thought Gavin did on purpose, in my opinion, as a way to go to court. So I think that both sides were prepared to go to court. Gavin starts winning. Now he's going to take a victory lap, and I think it's not going to be implemented at all.
Right. Right. I agree. I agree with you, Jason. And I think that, you also have a lot of other cases. Lex Rex has a case with John Eastman and company on the mail-in ballots, that they're not private.
Right.
It's a breach of privacy concerning that. So I think the enemy did a desperate thing. They overplayed their hand, and we should just go like the Dickens. And I would just say too, if I can do a plug for my website.
Yeah, go for it. We're going to do that and continue on 50. We're talking, so we can continue on. We don't have to get off. Yeah, because I was prepared to talk about it.
Oh yeah, because I think 50, look, it was a very desperate attempt. And the whole issue of Texas was completely bogus.
Totally.
I have friends in Texas, political friends in Texas, and they had to redistrict because the DOJ said they were violating the law. So they had to redistrict. So Gruesome Newsom, as I like to call him,
totally.
His argument that, well, we're going to counter Texas going, redistricting for the Republicans by redistricting was another big lie. It's like the no coal lie. It's another big lie they sold. And like Goebbels, in Nazi Germany, their belief is, if you tell a lie long enough, people will start to believe it. So
I'm not comparing Democrats, but that's what they do.
Yeah, they lie. And
Gavin Newsom lies. It's the more and more I see him lie, the more I just feel like breaking my phone, and I think that's his goal. He wants to and also agitating you what makes you pay attention. I think on purpose, it's all about him trying to be the president. That's what this is all about. He spent $300 million taxpayer dollars because he thinks he deserves it. I think Gavin Newsom thinks that he should be getting. I think this is what I think. I think what he's upset over. I think he thought he was going to be the heir apparent instead of Kamala Harris. I think he thought he was going to be drafted, and I think he was really angry over it. And I think the fires is what screwed everything up for the future of him being president. Like, he had all these things happen he couldn't control. And so he got extremely bitter and decided, well, I'm just going to take this state down with me if I don't get my way. People may think I'm crazy, but there are people that think like this, especially spoiled brats who's never worked a real job. People don't understand the mindset of a Nepo person, a Nepo child who was never held accountable for anything they did wrong and they were never held accountable to hold a real job. That is a big deal for me. We all know what it's like to when I was a kid, I worked at fast food, then I got a job busting tires and changing oil and gave myself a concussion and hurt myself and got injuries trying to learn how to like that. I worked a real job. I had resistance. I had all I built my life. But then you have a guy like Gavin Newsom who was like with a silver spoon was handed this to him, and all he's done is completely been a politician who has helped no one but himself and Nancy Pelosi. So that's what I don't I know I think he knows it's not legal. And think about this. When I
Right.
opened my ballot, I actually thought there were other things on it. I didn't realize it was just 50.
Right.
I was like, how is this even constitutional? That one guy decides to make the legislature like he had no problem doing this, which is what they accuse Trump of all the time, which I haven't seen Trump push anything through except executive orders because it's impossible to get anything through Congress, even though apparently, look at the government shutdown. Everything Gavin Newsom is doing, he blames Trump and says Trump's doing it, but Trump's not. It's Gavin doing it. So Gavin Newsom is treating us like he's always treated anyone in his world. He's using us like his piggy bank. He took a $3 million dip. I think he believes they owe him one, and he's trying to just raise his national profile. What has he been doing for weeks and months? Talk shows, television shows, begging to go on podcasts because he believes the more, like you're saying, the more you lie, and this is my point, the more you lie, the more you're out there lying, the more it normalizes you. And then people, oh, well, it's just him. Oh, well, maybe he is different. Maybe he can make a change. Blah, 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 blah. And now there's no way he can win in the general. I know. I mean, never say never. But I mean, I think, and and the other thing is, why did Schwarzenegger come out and oppose him? That was a interesting thing for me. In fact, I just checked my mailbox before we did this, like I told you, and I got 4 or 5 no on 50 flyers in my mailbox. I clearly don't go to my mailbox like I should. And one of them was Arnold Schwarzenegger all over it. Schwarzenegger's back in the fight. And it was really intriguing to me. Why is Schwarzenegger opposing Gavin Newsom like face to face? Like he is now the face of the no on 50. Why? And then Schwarzenegger said the same thing that Trump said. It's a scam. I rewatched Bill Maher last night, the Schwarzenegger interview. It was very, very interesting how Schwarzenegger was calling Newsom out, saying Newsom is lying. It's not a temporary thing. It's a permanent thing. He wants power to the people. Schwarzenegger, Gavin's taking power away from the people, so on and so forth. So it's interesting to me that Trump and Schwarzenegger are on the same page, and most normal people are on the same page. But for some reason, California is going to pass this. It's wild to me.
No, no. I just was looking at as you were talking. I just getting some updates on my phone.
Yeah.
From people at the polls.
Mindy's our correspondent, guys. She's plugged in, man. People are voting right now. This is active voting right now. Okay.
I don't know if you can see the picture on the screen.
Move this way a little bit. Tilt it in a little. It's a little tricky because of the light. I mean, I see a pic. Okay, now we see it. It says getting lunch.
No. Those pictures.
Okay,
see
I can see it.
That's the Fremont Library. People have lined up to vote.
Okay, that's interesting.
He said Fremont Main Library has 15 people in line, getting longer. Lunchtime, more inside, up to 30 in line now.
That's big for an off election.
Yeah,
one of the things that people have been concerned with is like just people aren't going to pay attention voting because Gavin's going to get his way kind of thing. But it's also interesting that you're saying people actually out of the physical polls.
Oh yeah, my friends who voted in downtown Oakland at the library this morning said it wasn't lines, but there was a flow of constant people coming in, which is so I'll be getting more reports.
Well, what is interesting is there wasn't a lot of polling on 50. They didn't spend a lot of money on that. because they were doing the numbers and saying, okay, there's just not enough Republican votes to win. And they may just call it at 505 and say that, there isn't enough to, depending on, I know that, now also there's a website, by the way. Oh, you know what? Darn it. There's a website that I'm signed up to. And this is secrets, guys, secrets
Mhm.
of what we do. And they actually, it's the group that, I'm going to try to pull it up here. It's the group. Actually, while I'm doing this, Mindy, I'm going to let you give us some updates. But this is the
Okay.
group that actually is counting the votes, and it's like daily. They're giving daily updates. So go ahead and give us
Yeah,
some more
sure.
info. I'm going to be
Yeah, no,
track.
so this is, actually interesting that you're getting this kind of turnout in such a special election. Now, it doesn't we don't know how it's gonna turn out, but I think the point is that we're making, and I'll be going downtown a little later today, to do some, observing and asking some questions when the polls close tonight.
Mhm.
And, is that I think everyone watching and getting out to people, whatever the outcome, obviously, if we win the vote, but we won't know fully until later in the month because they still count mail-in ballots a week after the election, if it's so-called post-dated today. And, and it's important to keep an eye on that, which we will be doing here in Alameda. But no matter what happens, if we win it, great. It's still a scam the way they ran it, the mail. Because I
Sure.
think what Trump is doing is he's going after the mail-in ballot process. He has made that point that we need to get rid of mail-in ballots. And he's gone after California for being one of the worst in the country in how they do this. So I encourage anybody, if you haven't voted yet, though, go in person, get
Yeah.
a paper ballot, and vote. Vote no today. And because if we win it, it gives us a little leverage in his face. But if we don't, I'm not worried in the least, like Jason was saying earlier, because I think Trump knows what he's doing with this lawsuit. There are many other lawsuits going on around this. Um, it's I think the enemy made a big mistake. Gavin Newsom and company made a big mistake because they should have let things alone and not drawn attention to themselves. And like somebody else was telling me, a lot of the redistricting, if they go through with it, is they were trying to corner the Hispanic vote. But that's assuming the Hispanic vote is going to vote Democratic, as we saw in the Trump election. The Hispanic vote, a lot of it went for Trump.
Yeah. Yeah. They're taking all these things for granted. I did find it, but I'm going to see if I can pull it up and keep going.
Oh, keep going. Okay. And so I have another friend over at another Bay Area polling place, and they're just getting a great response. They're the legal distance away, but people are coming up to our table, very excited, signing up the petition for voter ID, excited that we're out there saying vote no on Prop 50. So I think that, I think today should be taken as a historic day, that this is a day that we are going to even be more committed to fighting no matter what happens. And I would just encourage everybody who's listening to run for office if you can. It's a great thing to do. You want to drive the enemy nuts. And my husband was showing me earlier today, there was an article out saying Democratic pollsters urge their party to sound like Republicans. Now, why would they do that except they think they know we're actually winning? And as they pointed out in this article, they say imitation is the sincerest form of flattery that mediocrity can play to greatness. In other words, whoever's doing the imitating can only ever be a shadow of the thing they're trying to copy. They can't be, because it's not original to them. So I just say, I see you got your ballot tracker up now.
Yeah, I found it. No, that's good information. Thank you. So,
Go
okay, so
ahead.
this is just the third district, Kevin Kiley's, which I was tracking. So what they do is
Mhm.
every day they send out, and this is obviously some inside info, but they send it out every day as they're counting. So you can see how his district is so spread out, right?
Mhm.
And so here's the percentage: less than half have been returned. All ballots, a little more than 500,000. And here's what's been returned. Here's what's not been returned. Interesting, right? And
Mhm.
so here's what's been returned and mailed: 40% red, 39 Dem. Interesting.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then
Wow.
there's more of the demographic breakdown. Then here's the party breakdown, returned. And again, Kevin Kiley's district was a red district, right? Or it is now. So it makes sense that 40%, 38. So I do think his district, he's going to win the district. Um, and then there's more breakdown here. So anyway, that's interesting. Mindy, anything you want me to show you on this? Any thoughts or?
Just that I think this indicates that there are going to be a lot of counties that we win if we don't win. Say we don't win the whole vote. It's going to obviously depend a lot from what you're showing on L.A., Alameda, San Diego, the bigger counties
The
that are not
blue.
necessarily
Yeah, because if
that
they
are
have,
blue.
because it's a straight up vote. Isn't that
Because it's,
interesting how they cut his district?
yeah, because it's clear that if you have a higher percentage of Republicans, that we're going to win those counties.
Yeah,
And you're
and
probably going
so
to get some of the Democratic voters and independents who are going to vote no. I don't think every Democrat is going to vote yes.
I agree with that.
I, I, I don't think every independent is going to vote yes.
So
So,
here's for everybody. I want to let you know what's going to change for if 50 passes. His district is going. They're going to take see all this red here. They're going to cut some of this out, and they're going to open it up into Greater Sacramento, which is blue as blue could be. In fact, they're going to make part of his district the downtown area where Dr. Pan has basically has his offices, and he's a he's a legislator in this assembly. And Pan's going to run against Kylie, and they're going to and the Republicans probably won't help Kylie. So anyway, interesting to me. And the reason why I'm keeping track of Kylie is because I know the area really well. Plus, he's the guy who is Gavin Newsom is also trying to take out. That's part of that too.
yep. Wow. So
Interesting,
it'll
huh?
be an interesting day.
Yeah, interesting day. So yeah, Minnie, thanks for joining me. We'll take a break. It's been an hour and 37 minutes. Crazy.
Wow. Time
It's been
goes
a good
fast.
morning, a lot of fun. People have been watching. Thanks, guys, for watching. Please follow Mindy. Mindy, let them know where they can find you.
Okay. My website is electmindy.com. Simple, electmindy.com. I try to keep it updated as much as possible with press releases, videos. And you can also go on there and donate to my campaign. Just so you know, the legal limit is $900. You cannot give more than $900 to the campaign. But anything is welcome that you can do. It helps me stay out there, get more T-shirts, and get literature out, and do a lot of other good things. So if you can, it's appreciated. If not, just go to the website and share it with other people that you can. And I so want to thank Jason. I love being on your show. It's just the dialogue is just what it perfect.
Well, thank you, and it's a privilege, and obviously, thank you for the wonderful shirt. And we're going to support you. We being me and my team and my palatial studios here. Um,
Great.
we're friends and family. We're going to support you, and we're going to do obviously a lot of shows moving forward because, in my opinion, starting tomorrow the campaign starts. I know it's already started for you, but I
Mhm.
believe in January. Is that when you guys can you declare, or is that when the filing is in January?
No, for Oakland, it's different than the rest of the state
Okay,
because we're ranked choice voting,
right,
so there's no primary.
right. Oh,
So
oh, so it's all the
I
way up to like June, right?
right till June.
Oh,
After June you petition, you need like 60 signatures and you pay a fee.
okay.
So it really doesn't start till after the primary, but that's where I'm getting a head start
We're on.
to make sure that we actually save Oakland.
Well, there's no reason why Barbara Lee shouldn't be running again, right?
No, she can run again.
I mean, yeah, right, because she's only taking over the term, and I
Interim
guess
term.
hypothetically, like my political brain is, why wouldn't she, right? Because she thinks it's going to be a cakewalk. So, and there's, I don't, it would be interesting to see if any of the Democrats against her declare, since it's an open I'm sorry, an open ranked choice, not a primary.
There's one that is already declared.
Who?
Brenda, what's her last name? Grisham. That's it. Thank you.
Okay.
Brenda
All
Grisham.
right. Okay. So we have one. Okay. Not on the, okay. I guess my thought would be one more like, Lauren or someone that's
Yeah.
higher on the radar. Interesting. Well, okay. Well, I think that going into this next, cycle, I'm not necessarily interested in interviewing anyone else, but you.
Thank you.
Because that doesn't do me any good. It doesn't do because I'm really not invested in I'm open-minded, but I'm not enthused to have a Democrat take over Oakland. It's not. It's like, and you're the only hope. So I'm all about like, hey, I want to talk to people and have fun shows and like, and we did that last time and that's how we met. I wanted to talk to all the candidates. But after seeing the situation in Oakland and after, living it with you, I mean, you're living it more than me, but just like the internet side of it and seeing everybody else that's working hard on this, I see the only solution is a conservative Republican winning. That's the only solution. I don't see the solution a new Democrat not happening, right? So to me, plus we're friends, and I appreciate you greatly, and I believe in what you do. I believe in what you say, and so it's important that for Oakland, you are I think you're the only shot. So, for them. So, well, everyone, stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Follow Mindy. She's on X as well. You can follow me. I'm everywhere. Please subscribe. And I did mention the sports TikTok. That's Real Jason J. Daniel. If you guys are into sports, it's a lot of fun. It's a completely different vibe. It's all sports. It's TikTok. So it's a wild, wild west. It's like guns are blazing out there. But I got tough skin. You have to have thick skin on the old TikTok. Please subscribe on Rumble and YouTube. I really appreciate that. And if you're watching on Rumble, jump to YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, jump to Rumble. All this stuff helps. I'm about to get all the podcasts loaded. There's a surprise. Spotify and Apple. Okay, so we're going there. Yeah, so the audio. Yes, so the audio versions will be available moving into the next couple of weeks. So many great things have been happening that it's kind of overwhelming. But all I've been getting. I have like 4 or 5 interviews that I want to set up, and it's been tricky, and they're all really great folks. It's just so much going on. But my point is, if you guys subscribe, that really helps me grow. It's not a misnomer. Subscriptions or follows. I guess YouTube and Rumble. Subscriptions are everything for the algorithm. So if you guys like what we do, please subscribe. And I will subscribe back. I mean, I'm about that life. Almost 1,000 subscribers over there on YouTube, which is cool.
Oh, fantastic, Jason.
Yeah, and so I also now my sports stuff is on YouTube in the shorts, so you can get both. And those are blowing up. 500,000. It's crazy. I'm blessed. It's a lot of work. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Speaking of work, we're gonna be back on later on. Mindy's gonna go out in the community. She's gonna talk to her people, and we want to encourage you guys. Make sure you vote. There's plenty of time. If you haven't, get your ballot off the counter and drive it down. Fill it out, drive it down, put it in, or go to the polls. Don't miss your opportunity to stick it to Gavin. How about that? Stick it to Gavin. Don't miss your opportunity. Okay. God bless you guys. Mindy, take care. Thank you. And I'll stay in touch today. God bless. Yeah, I'm thinking around 3:00 Pacific. I'll try to get back on maybe 4, but we'll see.
Okay, great. Take care,
guys.